For most people, they actually don't know what approach they're taking. They just kind of fall into habits of mindless eating, being reactive with their food, eating when they're hungry, focusing on, snack foods mainly, convenience foods. And this tends to be the number one problem. Hey guys, Owen Keeley here, performance coach, international athlete, and national record holder. I've helped hundreds of high performers over 30 years old drop stubborn belly fat, build muscle, and optimize their day-to-day energy and performance, all while using science-based, time-efficient, and decision-light systems that we use inside the Everyday Stronger method. So the topic that we're going to be hopping into in today's video is going to be how to hit your protein easily. This is something that so many people struggle with, particularly when they're starting off maybe in fitness or they're starting off inside of our program. It's something that tends to be a big bottleneck until we kind of can take a few actions, a few key steps that make it easy, that make it consistent, and make it inevitable to hit your protein intake each and every day. So in the video today, we are going to be going through those exact steps so that you can come away with a clear roadmap to be able to hit your protein intake day on day on day. We're going to be breaking this down into 4 simple steps for today. The first one is going to be structure. This is something that's often overlooked. A lot of people hear it, they kind of almost switch off, stop paying attention, or click off the video when they do hear this happening. But it's one that shouldn't be overlooked because it's one that's really important. It's one of those foundational elements that will make everything else that you do in the process, every other step that you take afterwards, easier. So when we say structure, what do we actually mean by this? We mean, how are you splitting up your nutrition across each day? So are you having breakfast and a snack and lunch and a snack and dinner and sometimes a snack? Are you having 3 meals a day, 4 meals, 2 meals a day? Are you having, one proper meal and just tons of snacking and bits and grazing throughout the day? What is the approach that we're taking? And for most people, they actually don't know what approach they're taking. They just kind of fall into habits of mindless eating, being reactive with their food, eating when they're hungry, focusing on, snack foods mainly, convenience foods. And this tends to be the number one problem why people struggle to get in protein. So what we want to do is we actually just want to set a hard rule of no snacking. This is one of the easiest ways that we can initially get in protein intake. And we will come back to this. We're not saying snacking is always something that's never allowed, but for the start, it tends to be easier just to say no snacking for the start. What that means is we're going to have to rely on proper meals for getting our nutrition, for getting our food in throughout the day. And with this approach, the proper meal approach, for most people, they're going to have somewhere between 2 and 4 meals a day. And that's going to be the sweet spot. It's going to keep them full, energized throughout the day, keep appetite nice and steady, and not be too much work where you're having to worry about eating 5, 6, 7 times a day like some bodybuilders do. Side note on this, once you're hitting about 4 meals a day as well, you're going to be optimizing your muscle protein synthesis, which is done throughout the day. So there's really no need to eat more meals than this. But yeah, basically, when we break this down a little bit further, 2 to 4 meals a day, most people are going to eat 3 meals a day. They're going to have their breakfast, they're going to have their lunch, and they're going to have their dinner. In the Everyday Stronger method, we actually put together what we call a 3x3 method, which basically just outlines 3 options for breakfast, 3 for lunch, 3 for dinner. These are meals that are already kind of pre-planned. We pick foods that you already use and enjoy and like. We just give you quantities of those. So we tweak quantities a little bit to make sure that you're hitting your calorie goal and your protein goal for each one. And it basically just makes it automatic to hit your daily calorie and protein goal. Okay. And with that, obviously with today's topic being protein, it's a surefire way of getting it in. So again, what are we going to have to do with this? So first step of structure, we don't snack, okay? So we're sticking to full meals. Step number 2 is going to be that we actually pick a structure. So are we going to have 2, 3, 4 meals a day? What's going to suit you better right now? For your appetite, for your work, how many breaks you get, what time do you have available to eat? Pick one. For most people, that's going to be 3 meals a day. For example, it is 3 meals a day. 3 meals a day, say for example, I weigh 180 pounds. I have 3 meals a day. That works out to 3 meals of 60 grams of protein. Now you have a clear protein target for each meal. So if you're having breakfast and you only get 20 grams of protein in or 40 grams, you're a little bit behind. You're going to have to make up for it in lunch and dinner a little bit. So you're not going to getting to your last meal every day and going, oh crap, I'm another 80 grams of protein behind on my daily total. You're kind of keeping account of it a little bit more throughout the day. So you're increasing your awareness. That's the first thing, is that we cut out snacking, we pick our structure, and we try to distribute the protein relatively even throughout the 3 meals. It tends to be the easiest way of doing that. Again, we don't need to freak out about it. If we have 40 grams in breakfast and we have 70 grams in lunch and 70 at dinner, it's completely okay. But it tends to be easiest to just distribute it evenly throughout the day. And if you're unsure, if you don't know what structure is going to suit you best, feel free to ping me a message below. I'd be happy to help you out. Okay, so number 2 is going to be within these structures. So now we know we're going to have our 3 meals a day, for example, each one is 60 grams of protein. How are we going to get in that 60 grams of protein if it is difficult at the moment? So the first thing that we want to think about doing is we want to have what we call a base protein. And this is going to be our second big step of the day. And what a base protein is basically a high quality protein source. To give you some examples of high quality protein sources, these would be complete, mainly animal based protein sources. We won't hop into the actual quality ratings or anything like that of proteins just yet. That's a little bit too much info for what we need in this video. But we want to stick with options like, say, our steak, eggs, chick. Typical animal sources of protein are going to give you a nice, varied amino acid profile for these, which is going to be a nice one to be getting in for the base of your diet. And if possible, we want to try and make up pretty much all of our protein target for each meal from these sources. Okay, so say if we're having steak for dinner, it might be a case that we actually have 2 fillet steaks for dinner to hit our 60 gram mark, depending on how big the steak is. The more protein we can get in with these sources, the better. We want to be making up the base of our diet off of these. And again, switch up these sources. So say, for example, if you're having yogurt for breakfast, have chicken for lunch, have steak for dinner, keep them varied. And don't be afraid of there's plenty of different sources here, from eggs, all the different ways you can have eggs, steak the same way. Then you have steak mince, then you have, lamb, you have chicken, you have pork. There's so many different variation here. Just get a little bit creative with it, but try and base most of your protein from this base protein sources. It's going to be least processing. It's going to be the best for your body. Your digestion will thank me for it as well. Okay, so there we have it. We have your structure, we have your base protein. Nothing revolutionary yet, but all in the same way. People want to hear about something new and fancy and different. But for 90% of people, the reason that they can't get enough protein in is because they are not either following a good structure or they don't have enough good quality base protein sources in their diet. Okay, so if this is you, there's no point focusing on what I'm going to say next. Fix where the leak is, fix your structure, or fix your base proteins in each meal, okay? And this one, particularly with our base protein, this one may take a little bit of planning, okay? So you may need to actually plan ahead a little bit with this. If you're unsure of particular protein sources or how to get that in more easily, again, feel free to contact me. There's tons of little tips and tricks that we can do to actually get this in, from buying pre-cooked meats, utilizing meal prep companies, and even cooking up different sources as well can be slightly easier to eat more of than other sources here. But again, we're not going to get into the nuances of it in too much detail for the purposes of this video. Now we're at a stage where if we have our structure in place, we have our base proteins in place as well, but we're struggling to maybe get enough protein in with these base proteins. Maybe we're hitting 40 grams in our meals, but we're struggling to get that extra 20 grams in. And we don't want to eat more steak, we don't want to eat more eggs, we don't want to eat more yogurt. What we can do is that we can have a little add-on to a meal, and what they help to do is they help to give us a little bit more variety in what we do. They help us to basically just boost or add on to the protein content of a meal. These would be things like, say, for example, for breakfast, I'm having eggs. To get in, say, 60 grams of protein from eggs, that's going to be a hell of a lot of eggs. But what we could do is we have our eggs and we pair that with yogurt. So something like a Greek yogurt, something like a skyr, if that's how you say it. Skyr. I'm not sure, but this one right here, SKYR, very, very good. Has tons of probiotics in there. It's a really, really nice one for gut health as well. Really high in protein, quite low in calories. So it's a nice one. If you haven't tried it, definitely try it out. But something like pairing the yogurt with the eggs is going to be an easy way to get more protein in, to boost your protein content without having to just eat eggs until you're sick. You can follow suit. You can follow the same thing with, say, our lunch. Say, for example, we're having chicken with our lunch and we're struggling to get in enough protein with the chicken. What we could do is you could pair on eggs with this. You could pair on something like a protein shake alongside it. So if appetite is a problem, it's another nice one. Even things like cottage cheese. It depends on what your preference is here. For the most part, we want to stay away from processed foods that are very processed. Things like protein bars and things like ready to drink shakes, things like this. Okay, they're not the devil. It's not never ever eat those ever, but we don't want to be relying on them most days, because for the most part, if we can get in better quality nutrition with better quality protein sources like, say, eggs and yogurt, we want to be doing that for the most part. Little side tip here as well. Spice things up. Make sure it tastes good. Season the eggs, add some sauce to it. Add some, if you like Tabasco, if you like hot sauce, throw some on top as well. Yogurt as well, throw some berries on top, throw some seeds on top. You know, make these little additions to make it taste better so that it's something you actually enjoy, and then with that it becomes a lot more sustainable. Our fourth point is going to be proteins on the go. So this is a big one as well. People really struggle with getting in protein when they're actually traveling. We want to have basically a few just in the back of our mind that if we are stuck, we're traveling, we don't have time to prep a meal, and we know what to get. So we have our jerky, we have things like our ready to drink shakes as well. So these are like protein shakes. You know, our protein shakes that are in the fridge section of a supermarket or a shop, very useful one as well. Little note on this as well, I prefer not to go for the meal replacement shakes, the ones, you know, packed with calories. Instead of, say, trying to get nutrition in through a pre-made shake, 9 times out of 10, you're actually going to be better off just getting a protein shake, a ready-made protein shake, and then pairing it with some fruit or pairing it with even some veg. Again, even with veg, you can get veg that you don't have to cook up. If you get some cherry tomatoes, you have a few of those, you get a cucumber, you can have a few bites of that. I know it's not, maybe it's not the status quo, but it is a useful way of getting in veg with a meal when you're on the go. Apart from this, with fruit, it's obviously a lot easier. Grab an apple, grab a banana, grab some, munch on those as you actually go. This tends to be an easy way of making it work. And then apart from this, we have the likes of our deli meats, which again, we don't want to be relying on for every single meal, but when we're in a pinch, when we're out, grabbing some deli meats, grabbing maybe even some bread in the bakery and just making a quick roll or sandwich with that, throwing some veg on top, having some fruit on the side, and we are good to go. And again, you have this structure in the back of your mind, so you do know if you're out for lunch and you can't, say, prep a meal or bring a meal with you, and you're a little bit low on protein from being on the go, you know that, okay, as a result, in dinner I just need to have a little bit more. I need to have an extra 10 grams, 20 grams, and maybe I'll have to make use of an add-on to hit that goal. Maybe I'll have to pair some yogurt with my dinner to hit another 20, 30 grams afterwards. Feel free to mix and match these. They're like Lego pieces. You can stack them, you can rearrange them. They work together. To recap, these are the 4 easiest ways to actually hit your daily protein without just eating boring meals every single day. If this helped, drop me a like or a rating if it's on Spotify. And if you do know someone who constantly struggles to hit their protein, share this with them. It helps them out and it helps us reach more people, which does more good for the world in general and is a big help for us too. If you want help with your nutrition, making this clearer so you're actually picking specific foods and quantities and you're looking for a simple system to follow each day, that's exactly what we do in the Everyday Stronger method. We remove the guesswork, we speed up your progress. So if you do want to make that happen, you can hit the link below to book in a quick chat, or you can just drop me an email or DM on Instagram. I'll be happy to go through it. Apart from that, I hope you have a great rest of the week, and I'll catch you in the next one.